title of this webinar is Structuring Your Actions. And I'm going to talk about pretty much every minute of your day, what it should look like if you want to truly invest yourself personally to be successful in every part of your life. And I'm not going to claim to be a master at it. I'm basing a lot of the things that I teach from personal experience. And, obviously, we learn things from other sources. You're learning from me today. And if you embrace some of the things that I teach you, probably some of this stuff that you're already doing, but when you pick something up new and embrace it, it becomes a part of you. And then that extends forward, I'm sure, to other people as well. All the things that I've learned in life, I didn't necessarily learn on my own. I got them from other sources. But the thing that I'm going to teach you today is really I'm going to roll out how I did my business as a sales agent when I was a sales agent. And some of the things will carry forward as I became a broker as well. But I think it gives you an amazing solid structure to how you should pursue everything you do every day. And you'll have a more happier life overall, I feel, successful business as well. So let's get started. So this is a quote from myself. Everyone can achieve success. And I don't want to talk a lot about myself, but I'll be frank and honest with people. I am not a college educated individual. I did not see the value in school when I was a young man, and I didn't do things that I probably should have in life. And I, often heard people make statements about me to my parents that said I was probably not going to be a successful person. And it bothered me personally, and I have, since I got into the business world, I made a commitment that I want to achieve success. I just feel like in some ways I'm just beginning my success. But what I can tell you, no matter what you've done in life and what you haven't done or what you've accomplished, what you haven't accomplished, I truly believe everyone can be successful. A lot of things that come into play when you talk about real estate is simply working with people and building relationships and serving them is really what this business is about. And if you can figure out how to do that in a great way and make sure people know you exist, there's no limits what you're capable of doing. And that's just that is a true fact. And so I believe everyone here with me right now could be a raving success in the business of real estate and their personal life. What happens though, if you want success, everyone wants success, right? Everybody wants success. But wanting something is not going to be something. You have to say, I will have success. There's a tremendous difference between a want and a will. No one wants to fail. Everyone wants to succeed. But what do we do to succeed is really what determines if we're going to succeed. And the underlying thing about that is your commitment to yourself. I believe in you. I believe in every one of you. I believe in you, Diane. I believe in you, Alexis. I haven't really formally met you, Jerry, but I can tell you I believe in you as well. and you can do whatever you want, but you have to have the will have attitude, and that is called commitment. So you have to be committed to achieving what you want. And then you have to have perseverance. And perseverance is that there will be many obstacles that come in front of you, and it can be things that you didn't expect to be in the way for you to achieve something you're going after, or it could be a fear of something that you should be doing to get where you need to go. And both of those can be overcome with your willingness to be committed to achieving what you want. And that is an absolute fact. So so I carry that forward. If you basically are getting up in the morning without a plan of action, you're not going to succeed. You have to have an exact action plan in front of you, and you have to act upon it, or you're not going to get where you want to be. So we have to plan our business, and then we have to create the actions that carry us forward to achieve the goals that we have for ourselves. And that's the core purpose of my webinar today. And so we're going to talk about this. And so I try to simplify everything that you do as much as possible, because if you make it complicated, nobody likes to do things that are complicated, right? And so we need to simplify it. So I'm saying that your day is broken into 6 stages. And we're gonna talk about each one of those in detail, and it's based on what you're doing at what time of day. So we have 6 stages. In stage 1, I call your morning routine. What's your morning routine? It's basically what you do before you totally go into work mode. And so stage 1 is from the time you get out of bed until the time you go to your workspace and begin to actually function your work. And there's some critical things that need to occur in that time frame, and these are things that will make an impact on not only your business but your just overall personal life and help you. And we're going to talk about those right now. And I kind of have 4 key points, one of these. And the first one is you need to get up, and I have no clue what time you 3 get up in the morning, but you need to probably get up earlier than what you do. I'm going to tell you right now, I went through a cycle from the middle of 2018 until the later part of 2018. I was really devoted to my routine in the morning, and somewhere around January until almost summertime of this year, I got off. I got off of my routine. It was notable. It was affecting everything. I was not productive. I've gotten back on my routine, and lots of great things are happening again. And the first thing is I have to rise early enough in the morning. It's not my job to tell you when to get up, but for me, I'll just tell you, I rose up this morning. I was up at 4 a.m. That's a little bit extreme, but I don't even use a time clock to do that, or an alarm clock to do that. My general time to get up is around 5 a.m. I'm suggesting 6 a.m. here. I can just, what happens in this first couple hours of your day really sets the mode and the pace for the rest of your day. And if it comes off correctly and with a lot of positive and motivational and everything else, you're going to round out and really be more productive, more willing to do the things that you need to do. And overall, you're going to feel better about yourself. So I rise early. I spend, I make a cup of coffee. I, I then get dressed, and I actually go to something called boot camp. And boot camp is basically a place where I I have to be accountable. They tell me what the exercise is, and I've got to do it. And boot camp for my time period lasts about 40 minutes. I was doing a boot camp prior when I said that I was doing well in 2018. And what happened there was the person that I went to boot camp with that had me on my game, he relocated out of state. So I made an attempt to find someone else that provided the exercise routines that I was accustomed to with him, and I didn't find it. And then I ended up not pursuing and staying in my game of a mild exercise routine in the morning. And the result of it, I just didn't have the same drive, the same um, excitement about anything in my life as well as I did when I exercised. So I'm going to tell you some sort of mild exercise is very important to you. It doesn't have to be extensive. It doesn't have to be, and here's what, I'm not a medical person. I don't know any of that stuff. I haven't really read it, but what I know is, and this is what I pinpoint, is when you do some sort of mental exercise that raises your heart rate, and if you're breathing a little bit heavier, you're pumping an excessive amount of oxygen to your brain, which it hits points in your brain system that is creates positive emotions. When you create positive emotions, it drives you to do better and greater things. So it's not necessarily for me. I mean, I've been doing this again for about 2.5 months. I haven't lost a pound of weight. I've tried to, but I'm not quite eating right. But the way I feel is immensely better than I did 2 months prior. And so that has a big value in getting yourself ramped up. The other thing I can say about that is, though you would think that you're out there sweating and burning calories that would run you down, it actually drives you to have more energy throughout the day. I'm not a doctor. I don't know all the reasons why that happens, but my energy level is all the way to the top, and I don't need caffeine to do it. It's just the fact that I did some mild exercise. And mild exercise can be walking briskly, around the block. It doesn't, have to be extensive, but it just will make a difference. And really, if you just spend 15 or 20 minutes with that, I do 40 minutes. That will make a big difference in you. And then, having some time, um, I'll be honest. I was brought up as a Christian. I have a Christian background. I do believe in God, and sometimes I walk in and out of that world as well. And when I am more close to spending some spiritual time, again, it just makes a difference. So I'm not here to, tell you your beliefs, and that's not my position, but some sort of meditation um, is, is amazingly valuable, and it will make a difference. And then spending just a tad bit of time, and I show feed the mind, educate yourself, read something. For in today's world, it's just maybe watch of some sort of inspirational video or something that really drives excitement about wanting to go out there and rule the world will make a huge difference. And today I tap into something called YouTube, and YouTube has a numerous amount of video content that has inspirational messages to it, or just get you pumped, your mind pumped to go out and conquer and be willing to tackle things that you generally would not do, and that will make a difference. So I probably ain't speaking anything that you haven't heard somewhere else, but this I feel is very valuable, and I think it gets the day started on the right track. Now, for all of us, um, the way that this business has gone is you're working relatively from your home office. So you're not then leaving the home and going to the office to work. So you're stuck into a place where you're doing business inside the same, relatively space where you're conducting family time and personal time as well. So I would also add to the fact that you really need to make sure in your home that your space for doing business is completely isolated from where you spend time with your family or your personal time. So if it's if it's overlapped or in the mixed, your devotion to working versus devotion to your family gets really messed up. So if I'm your advisor and I'm your coach and I'm your mentor, I would say make sure that you create a space within your home that is absolutely dedicated to workspace, and it doesn't get or flow into other space in your home as well. Anyone have anything to add or questions about that? I told you I didn't want to be the only one talking, but thank you, Diane. At least I got it. Okay, so I'll continue on. Stage two. So stage two in your day should be devoted to generating new business. And so when does this occur? This is from 8 a.m. until 12. And there's a reason for what I'm saying to you is you have to, here's what I see so too often is most agents simply are not connecting with what they should be doing. And if you added up all the hours you truly are devoting to doing your business, it ain't 40 hours. What I'm trying to do is fill your day up with 40 hours of true activities that run your business. If you know, 40 hours is a normal work life, and you can do $100,000 income very comfortably working 40 hours. The problem with our business, and I get it, is the fact that it's not necessarily 9 to 5, because certain customers will need to see homes after hours or on weekends, or we may host an open house on the weekend. But you can devote. So I'll just give you, how I worked my business. I did not work on Mondays if I didn't have to. I always worked on Saturdays because I needed a 5-day work week, and I made a lot of money by working Saturdays because I could get in front of people that needed my services, and I could speak to them. And I'll talk a little bit about how I structured my business when I was selling real estate. But here are the things that you need to do from approximately 8 a.m. until noon. You have to practice what your skills are. I can't preach this enough. We give you a lot of dialogue on teaching you what to say, how to say it, how to respond to questions that create opportunities still. And that's so very important if you're truly going to be vested into trying to create a high level business for yourself. People don't want amateurs, they want professionals that know what they're doing. And unless you practice skills to deliver on them, you're not going to, one, there's going to be several problems with that. One, your confidence level isn't going to be there. Two, you're going to give up too soon on anything that you try, because you're going to come to me and say, Scott, that doesn't work, or I don't get any, I don't get any yeses, so I got to do something else. There's, the course that I'm going to have on next Tuesday at the same time for you, we're going to talk about the 8 basic strategies to getting customers. And for each one of us, we're going to choose different ones. The thing about that is you can go to any real estate agent and you could pick a particular method, and you could ask, 2 or 3 and say, what do you think about this? And I'll use, for an example, open houses. So you could go to 3 different agents that are successful in the business and ask them, does open houses work? And you're probably going to get 3 different answers. One is, oh, they're okay. One is they're a waste of time. And the other is, I can't wait to do the next one this weekend. And what's the difference? The difference is simply the fact that the agent that chose to vest themselves to become skilled and an expert at that method of doing the business is seeing a lot of success, where the agent that didn't give it a time of the day and just does what you have to do to get through that open house and sees no success from it and feels it doesn't work. And so that's very important, because when I teach you the different methods, it's when you determine or find the methods that you want to pursue, and then it's us to come alongside you and skill you up to the maximum so that you churn a huge amount of results using that particular method. And so you can't do this without practicing the skills. So one of the skills that we really hope that you want to acquire and that you put into action would be listing homes. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to talk about the values of listing homes. But if you don't spend the time to understand the presentation that you need to deliver and how to effectively deliver that presentation, then it's not going to deliver the results you need to do, and you're going to get mediocre opportunities. Instead of getting most of the opportunities, you're going to be losing them to other agents that's going to outskill you. And so the idea of practicing your skills becomes a necessary product. Yet we find that most agents simply just say, when I have to use it, I'll just do what I can. You have to spend time practicing the skill set. And the skill set is the delivery of a presentation, or the content of what kinds of questions you would ask somebody, or how you would respond to questions. And we give you every bit of that dialogue. And the thing that falls inside of that is your authenticity. Each one of us are different. And so it is imperative that we be ourselves when we talk to people. And you need to add into the skill set when you practice, so that you are talking the way you talk, but asking the right questions that make sense, that give you the opportunity. And that's very, very important. I'm going to tell you how important that is, because I personally went out and tried door knocking when I got into the business, knew nothing about it, and I knocked on probably 150 doors, and I got a total 0 out of it. The reason I got a total 0 is because I wasn't saying the right things. I wasn't answering the questions right. And when I went back to my mentor at the time and said, this doesn't work, just like I said before, and the mentor said, it works. How come? You know, and he pointed to boards on the wall because in that office space, everybody was tracking what they were accomplishing. And there were people that had some big numbers on. It's like they are doing the same thing you're doing right now. And look at their board, it's full. And then began to ask me questions to determine the fact that, hey, Scott, the reason you're not getting results is because you didn't practice the, the dialogue and how to have the conversations with the people to create the opportunity. Because all you're doing is influencing people to choose yourself to do business. And and as soon as I then took away the fact that I needed to do that and began to do that, and went out and went after it again and began to get yeses and results, I realized that everything that was said to me about that was an absolute fact, and it is. And I preach it, and I know it, and I'm talking from myself and my experience. So that's important. And if you need any guidance on that, that's what myself and the other brokers here will provide you. So the next thing is, and so when I talk about practice, so whatever methodology you want to pursue and how you're attracting business, because if you're not doing actions that attract business, you're not going to have any business at all. There's nothing that's going to happen unless you take action to go out and put yourself in front of opportunities in some manner, some way. And so when we talk about practice, it doesn't take a long time if you will aggressively practice the dialogue, then you're going to spend only about 15, maybe 20 minutes a day on that activity. Um, and, and it goes back to the same thing. You know what? You take the best sports athlete, you take Tiger Woods in golf. You know, the man is amazing at the golf game. If you don't think that that man practices, practices before he goes to a tournament, you don't know what's really going on. Though he knows his game, the man practices before he goes out and plays and competes for the opportunity to be the best. And so that same thing has to happen in this business. You have to practice. So market updates, it is imperative that you understand what's going on with your market and how do you find that information. It's right in your MLS on a daily basis. You got it used to be called the hot sheet. I don't use MLS so much anymore, but you have information to keep you in tabs of, what's trending and what's going on in the market. The Florida Realtors website also has content to tell you, how many homes this month is sold and versus expireds and all that stuff. Because when you talk to people, they they want to know, understand what your business is, what's going on in your business, and that's extremely important. So you need to keep up with. It's also a resource to give you potential leads as well. If you're looking at the MLS, for me, it was homes didn't sell and expired, and I wanted to go after those. But being updated with what's going on in your business world is extremely important because even when you have conversations, because everywhere you go, there's opportunity. It could be the waitress at the restaurant you're eating at, and when you talk to them, you have to be able to share information that shows you're on top, you're an expert, you know your game, you're a good opportunity for anyone that might do business with you. And so the only way you can do that is to keep up with the market. And then we need to do prospecting. Um, I, so prospecting. Um, Prospecting can be, um, a number of different ways, and I'm not going to go into detail about that. For me, it was um, pursuing expireds and FISBOs. For you, it could be just calling your sphere of influence. It could be going to a networking event. There's just a gamut of different ways. But if you're just waiting for the phone to ring, there's nothing going to happen good about your business. You need to be in front and you need to be proactive at finding opportunities, no matter what way it is. And you have to spend so much time every day. And so I say this time needs to be in the AM. And the reason for that is the fact that it doesn't give you the ability to give an excuse later in the day that I had so much things to do, I didn't have time, therefore I can push it off. Because a lot of times it's a mental situation, because our mind wants to give ourselves excuses for things that we're not excited about doing. And we don't want to give that opportunity, so we got to pursue it. So if you do it in the AM, there's two reasons. One, you just rolled out of my morning routine, which put me in the mode to actually accomplish things. Secondly, you're fresh, clean, and you've got energy for the day. Though also the people that you're reaching out to for opportunities, hopefully they had a good night's sleep and they're energized with a positive attitude. So they're going to be more receptive to giving you opportunity when you speak to them in the AM. If you reserve that to the afternoon, what if they had a bad day and you make a call to them and you're seeking an opportunity? You think you're going to have the time of day to get an opportunity if somebody's in a negative mindset? Absolutely not. So the least likely for somebody to be in a negative mindset would be in the AM as well. So this just gives you a huger amount of opportunity. And this is all about leveraging what's going to give me the best return on my results at any time. And this is the game plan that will get you there. The fourth one here is track your results. So we do have in our systems and our forms and in our back office, is we have forms where you can track. So when you're doing prospecting, again, prospecting means that you're forcefully reaching out and asking for opportunities from whomever it could be. And again, I go back to, it could be people in your sphere of influence. It could be people in a networking group. It could be for sale by owners. It could be expired listings. You're reaching out and asking for an opportunity. And what you want to do is you want to have some sort of way to chart what's the results of my efforts, because what you want to pinpoint is what's working and what's not. And the things that are not working may either be, one, eliminated and replaced with another type of action, or you need to fix why you're not getting results by figuring out your skills to get you there, or refine them, or find something, work with somebody that can identify what you could do to improve the results of that particular action. Because it's important when you, let's say 6 months in and you've done a half a dozen transactions, you want to look back and say, where did I get that business? What was the action I took that created that business for myself? Because those are the things that are working. Those are the things I need to do more of and less of other things that didn't get results. And this can be different for each one of us. Anyone want to add to this? Have a question? Make a comment? I lost Diane, but I have you, Jerry, and Alexis. I will move forward then. Jerry?
No, I was just,
Oh, Diane's there.
I'm pretty new, so I was going to say that I'm just, you put things in a very good perspective, and I do look forward to next week because, winning business and being an expert or come across as knowledgeable with integrity is really important. So I've been in the shopping center business and mall business and airport business for 30 plus years, but I have a lot to learn as it comes to the real estate business of residential. So I think it'll be very interesting for me, it's very interesting for me to be a sponge and grab your knowledge.
Yeah, I share it well. So, but I'm glad you come on, Jerry. And so I'm not really going to be able to give you in this course, what actions you do for the business. I mean, we can circumvent that in between the classes, but what I'm trying to accomplish here is, one, how you would roll out your day, what actions would come at what point of the day, and I'm trying to give you the reason and the value for doing it that time of day, and realize that you can fill up your day with actionable tasks that accomplish something, rather than getting up in the morning and say, well, I sure hope the phone rings today because, I kind of would like to do some sort of real estate today, and then go on about some personal activity, because you're never going to get anywhere by doing that. So you have to apply yourself. Anyone that thought they went into business for themselves and got into this business because it's going to be really simple, unfortunately, it's not. It's hard work, but you can build it up to where it becomes a lot more simple. Well, I have a lot more people on here than I thought. Everyone can hear me. Sorry about that. I just need to take a moment and realize we have about 10 people here. All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So have you been able to hear me?
Yes, I was here the whole time.
Okay. We just got this new Zoom webinar software solution, and we're kind of in learning mode, so I apologize. This is exciting. I got 10 people on here. I am like, where's all the people that said they were going to come, Thanks. Any other input or questions about the 8 a.m. till noon portion of your day, and what this means and what you should be doing and such?
I hope you made it clear.
Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna move on. Stage 3. So stage 1 was what? Your morning routine is before you get to work. It's getting yourself set up for a successful day and doing certain actions. Stage 2 was getting your prospecting in and getting new business opportunities. In stage 3 is attend appointments. So if you're working from approximately 8 a.m. until noon, I'm going to assume that we should all take a break at a lunch period. And so from then 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock, you should be out of your home or out of your office, in front of people, in front of things, in front of learning, out in the world, and not in your office. Absolutely not be in your office. What activities do you pursue in this space for this time period is you actually do appointments. So appointments be listing appointments, showing homes, previewing homes, being involved in some sort of networking, or in places where you're having public contacts, and working with, spending time with past clients or sphere of influence. All of these activities occur at this time of day. And so as a brand new agent, so, okay, Scott, well, I'm not going to be going on listing appointments. I don't have that opportunity, or I don't have a buyer to do showing appointments. I got to go figure out what networking group I want to be in, if that's a direction you want to go. So I'm not necessarily saying networking is be something else. But being out in public, so, think about if you had to sit and working from a Starbucks or a Panera Bread, where you have an opportunity to maybe interact with people and be able to share that you're in the business and create opportunity. But the big thing for a brand new agent is previewing homes. So when I got into the business, I had no clue the street names of the communities that I learned later, every street name, and I knew exactly where every street was. I knew what every color of each house was on the street. I learned it inside out. I didn't know, what the HOAs covered and who was the contact person for the HOA or who was a staff person in the clubhouse and all that stuff. But that was very important. So you're taking time without other appointments involved and getting out and learning the market. Again, you have to learn the market. So you need to get out and say, I'm going to go visit this particular community. I'm going to preview 4 properties that are actively listed. Even though I don't have a buyer, I'm going to go to the community clubhouse. I'm going to meet the staff. I'm going to learn what the fees are. I'm going to learn what the amenities are. I just need to learn as much as I can. And in this space, what you're trying to do is learn potentially where you see yourself doing a bigger amount of your business. So for me, it was, I want to learn waterfront. I had clueless about waterfront. I'd already lived in Florida for, 10 years. And somebody said, there's this thing called a davit. I'm like, I don't even know what a davit is. Davit holds up your boat, if you don't know. I had no clue. And I'm out there trying to put myself in front of homeowners with waterfront properties, and I have no clue what I'm doing. But I learned a lot. I never lived on the water. I never owned a boat, but that was the direction I went. So I started pedaling myself, door knocking and things to neighborhoods like Harbors and Sea Forest and Westport and Hudson Beach and Sea Ranch, all the way up to Crystal River and south of the Skyway Bridge. And I learned a lot. Enough to say, if you have a big boat that needs a big draft, you need to live in Gulf Harbors. And, so I learned all that just by getting out and visiting homes. I learned the generalized floor plans of those homes were. I learned what the amenities were in the community, whether or not there were fees and what the fees covered and all of that stuff. Because when you start talking to buyers, you need to understand this and talk intelligently, but it just opens up the opportunity. But you're investing in learning and you're getting out. Okay, because eventually those preview appointments or that time period 1 to 4 p.m. will effectively become appointments like listing appointments and buyer showings. And now you're familiarized with the area. So when you do a listing appointment, you kind of know how to talk to that homeowner because you know about their community, or you can talk intelligently to that potential buyer and be able to share communities that fit the description that it gave you. And that's very important. So if you say, I don't know what appointments I would do, that's what it is. And when it comes to being able to preview homes, simply calling the listing agent. So you're practicing the whole routine of setting up an appointment. So you're going to be positioned well when you go into homes. So that's very important. Networking, spending time. So for me, one of the things, no matter what method you use, you're going to use your sphere of influence. Your sphere of influence is extremely invaluable to you getting started in this business. And so what I say to you as the agent is you should spend at least days a week taking somebody in your sphere of influence to lunch. Yes, you're going to buy them lunch, but the opportunity that you're going to create to get business through them is amazing. It's important that you understand who you're going to take the lunch. It's the people that know the most people, have the biggest influence to give you opportunity, are the ones that are on the top of the list. So you need to spend some time, take them to lunch and mingle with them, um, and ask for opportunity. Somebody that you know dearly, I can't imagine that they aren't in it to help you. And they're not going to get there unless you're willing to ask. So I can tell you that they're unfortunate to you. They know 2 or 3 that have a license. You have that opportunity. You got to be the one that's the loudest and ask them. So that's important. There's other things. I'm going to mute you, Diane. Any questions about these 4 activities? You need to be out. Do we understand you need to be out of the office at 1 to 4 o'clock and doing something outside? Okay. This is not the only kind of activities. Eventually, you're going to have real contracts if some of you don't already. And so the same thing. You have to try to be in control of your schedule. You can't be controlled. You know, there are exceptions to this, but if you're the one that has any role in when things are done, you want in all of your appointments to be in the afternoon. You don't just give the opportunity for everyone to tell you that the closing is going to be at 9 a.m. You need to at least make an effort to ask for it to be in the afternoon. If you just do what everyone else wants to do, you can't accomplish a high-level business. You have to be in control of the schedule. And so this is for all of these activities. So if there's going to be an inspection or an appraisal or any of those kind of things that you have to be attentive to and be there, you want to make them between 1 and 4. If the closing is going to happen, you want it to be between 1 and 4. Anything that where you're meeting with clients, seller update consultations, or meeting. So periodically you meet with your team. What is your team? Your team consists of title agents and mortgage people. Those are people you work with and they become a part of your team. And so I'm not going to say you do this every week, but periodically that you kind of have some face-to-face time with them as well, because you guys, you and them strategize together. The more time you spend with your title agent or your mortgage person, the more valuable your relationship is going to be with them. You don't think that a mortgage person also gets direct calls from buyers and has buyer leads to possibly distribute to you? And so the real estate agent's going to win those opportunities is the one that creates the best relationship with the mortgage lender. So these are all valuable to you, and they all happen in this space. So we don't do appointments in the morning. We do them after 1, in between 1 and 4. And there are going to be exceptions. So you're like, Scott, the only time they have is 9 a.m. Well, unfortunately, then it has to be 9 a.m. I can tell you over and over again, the lost opportunities when you change your schedule are pretty extensive, because once you change that schedule and allow somebody to enter your space when you're supposed to be finding new business opportunities, you never know what the lost opportunity was because it was taken away from you that day. Had you been able to pursue it, then who knows what opportunities that it could have created. Because for me, in one single piece of business opportunity connected almost always to multiple transactions. So you'll never know the big loss that you had by allowing or freely allowing other people to control your time. So this is very important. Anyone have any questions about this? No one? Tiana?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, you're at least responding. Again, I don't like to be the only one talking. You're all good listeners. Hopefully you're team. Here's a big thing. You know, a buyer can, you have a listing, a buyer calls you and says, I'm standing in, or I'm sitting my car in front of the house. It's 10:30 in the morning and I want you to come over here right now and see this, show me this house. What do?
What's a good time between 1 and 4 that I could be able to meet you?
Perfect, because, you know, I appreciate that you want to see the house and I want to be the one that shows you the house. Unfortunately, I'm currently in an appointment. Your time prospecting or working on new business is an appointment. And so I can show you the home at 1 o'clock or after. Just tell me what's best for you and I'd be happy to show you. I want to be the one that shows you. Every time I fail for just getting in my car and running over, I don't think I could tell you one successful sale doing that in my entire career. The expectation that I'm spontaneously available is really not a good product for me, and it shouldn't be a good product for you. That's a one-of-a-kind home, and if they really want it, they're going to find a way to obtain it or purchase it. And so I don't want you to lose out on an opportunity, but if you are losing out on being able to do what your schedule says you should be doing, that's when you're going to lose out on opportunity. You know, there's exceptions, and I get it, and I don't to be a super concrete on that, but this is going to set you up for success. Let's continue on. So stage 4 is reporting and planning. So this is just a little time frame between 4 and 5 o'clock. So remember, you're out of the office from 1 to 4, and now we need to wind down our work day, and that is, you know, taking all the information that we gathered for all the actions we did that day. And so we should have progressed on leads or opportunities. And so if we're not working from a product called a CRM, we're not doing ourselves justice. We need the tools, the CRM. And so you need to go in and update all the notes and add the new contacts and all that stuff into your product and set your follow-up times for people in the pipeline. And then we also need to follow up on existing business that's already in process as well. Checking in with your title company on the progress of the transaction that's in the pipeline, or the mortgage lender, or the clients themselves. This is a good time for that to occur. These other two on here, market update and tracking results, I think those are mistakes on my slide. I apologize for that. But it's really just taking all the information that you took notes on for the day and plugging it into your systems that keep you organized and on track. And deal with, maybe check your email and follow up with any pending situations that occurred throughout the day and close it out. The last part of that is you should be then setting and reviewing and setting tomorrow's schedule. What's the actions I'm going to be doing tomorrow so that I have an action plan in front of me? And all that occurs, approximately between 4 and 5. Now, the cool thing here is I don't know that I would necessarily suggest that you run to the home office to do this, because there's a value about being out in the public There's a lot of complementary locations that you can just sit and almost do business. A Starbucks again, or Panera Bread, and being able to sit in there and do that, and then return to the home after that. Who knows what opportunity that could present itself while you're sitting there in a public place, finishing up the business for the day and preparing for the next day, and then almost feel like that you're going home to be in your personal life at that point. And I think there's a value behind that, because ultimately we have to find a way to separate business from work. And if we do too much intermingling, you never feel like you're escaping work and enjoying life, or vice versa. And that's very important to being healthy and having them separated. So that might be another reason that, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna stop at my favorite Starbucks, wind down the day, plug in all my stuff, and go home and be home, and not re-enter the office space at that point. This is not a business where it's that simple. I get it. You get a occasional evening call and stuff, and you'll probably have to attend that, but don't allow yourself to be drug into the work area in your home after 5. It just doesn't, it's just not good for you. It's not healthy, and it's not going to make you as happy. You want to try to control that. Any other questions about this?
No.
Okay.
We're good.
Anybody get what the time is?
8 o'clock.
8? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we're doing pretty good. All right. So stage 5. Actually, there's 5 stages. I think I originally said 6. There's 5. So you need to go home. When I say go home, 5 is it, if all possible. Close the office door, step into home time. And that's easy said, but there is something to think about. I find that often mindset-wise, we're in our workspace, but thinking about something personal, and vice versa. So when you're with your family, you shouldn't be worried about business, and when you're in your workspace, you should be focused on work. And this is probably one of the most difficult things in our business type, because we can be easily interrupted at any time, any moment. For the most part, people don't respect the fact that we do have a home life as well. Plus, you're working from the home. And that's another reason why in the beginning I said you really need to create an isolated space in your home, that where you can shut the door and it stays behind the door. You don't bother it, and you enjoy your family or whatever that is for you for personal time. But there is also something to be said in creating and setting expectations for your customers as well. If you're just glued to your telephone and you carry it around, and you just instantly answer that phone all the time, well, you basically are training your customers to say, yes, I am available all the time. Now, what's the problem with allowing that phone call to go to voicemail intentionally, and then maybe listening to that message, and then determining, oh, I probably should call them back right away because it is that urgent, or there's no reason why that can't happen tomorrow morning, that call back. And so that's something that I want you to understand, especially when you ramp up. I had, for my business, I was ultra focused on listing homes, but when you carry an upwards with 50 listings and have on average of 15 pendings, the phone could never stop. And so the only way you can break away and have personal time is you have to create some way of controlling and teaching your clients that, 5 o'clock is my world too, because they'll call you and ask the silliest questions or make the silliest statements that there was no purpose of them having to interrupt time after 5 o'clock for. But we have something in our world today, it's called voicemail. Voicemail, you can make a determination based on the message because you ask them to politely leave you a message that you'll respond to. And then, yes, probably listen to that message. And then based on that message, you can make a personal determination of the urgency to respond to them. And I can tell you 95% of the time, they don't need a response that evening. It can happen the next day. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy. And unless you're happy, all the money in the world will not make a difference in your life. You have to be happy as well. We all love money, but there's more to money, more to happiness than just money. Both play a role. But I'm here to help you be happy, and you have to be in control. And this is another way to be in control. About this, I'm tapping into your personal life right now. So you're online with me. So I think I said 6, but that was really the 5 stages. And so a lot of this is your mindset. And a lot of the things that you're needing to do to be successful in this business is connected to something called fear. And fear can be overcome by the determination to succeed. And for me, I was one that was very fearful of the things that I learned that I needed to do to be successful in this business. I was probably one of the most feared. But there was a point in which I said, unless I do, I'm not going to be able to take care of my family. I have no choice. I have to do this. I have to make it work. And I have to be willing to do whatever it takes. And I go back to an early slide where I said, everyone can. And that's an absolute true fact. So the thing that has to happen is you have to decide in your own world that do I just want it or am I going to have it? And when you can say I'm going to have it is only point in which myself, Greg, Dan, Cherise, or Connie can actually help you. You have to be committed to wanting to succeed. And when you're committed to wanting to succeed, we can help you. Otherwise, we can preach and share great things of what you need to do, but it may not actually go to the street. So you'll set in your own little world and think about the desire to do it, but you don't launch and take action. And so that's critically important. But I'm going to go back and say, I believe in you and you can achieve it. You can do it. And when you realize it, everything can happen and it will happen. And we will be there to make it happen. That's what we do. I have a few more slides. So I go back to the earlier slide where I said, everybody says they want to be successful, but you have to have the mindset that I will be successful, because nobody wants to be a failure. Everyone wants to be successful. So I'm going to talk really quick, and then I'm going to talk about two more sections. So one is the fundamentals of success. I have, I think, 7 or 8 of these. So just like you have to set a daily agenda and actually carry it out and probably stage it out the way I suggested, you have to have an end goal. What is your end goal? What is the big picture of what you want to achieve? What is that? And what does that look like? And that is what we really shoot for. And all the actions on a daily basis is to carry us to that place. I also believe, and for me personally, you have to have a purpose of why you do what you do. My purpose is what I'm doing right now. I do not love anything more in life than to help you, the individual, be successful. It took a long time for me to understand and discover my purpose, but I do know what it is, and I'm doing it right now. I'm trying to teach you and give you the foresight to help you have the courage and the drive and the foundation to succeed at what you want to achieve in your life. And that's my purpose. For your purpose, back when I was selling real estate, my purpose was truly listening to my customers and truly trying to reach their goals. Because I can tell you this, it's if you vest yourself in what their true needs are and what their goals are, then your goals get met. And I truly believe this, because when I share myself into you, and it's truly from my heart, that I'm here to help you succeed, and it's in my heart that I'm going to help you succeed, then when I do that, it's going to encourage you to actually take action and achieve selling real estate, which means I get rewarded for the accomplishment of that. And I don't have to focus on money. I focus on you and what your needs and goals are, and all the rest just happens. But you should have an end goal, a goal of what you want to achieve, and it has to be somewhat realistic. $100,000 income is not an unrealistic goal, but it isn't going to come without taking action. And then round that with purpose. Develop your daily habits. I've just laid out a blueprint. Hopefully you took notes. I could probably share this slideshow with you if you need a refresher. But you segment it, and I tried to do that into 5 stages. And I included from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed. So some of that is your personal life, but you need to have habits, and you got to develop the habits that take action. And so I developed habits that I got up in the morning, or I currently get up in the morning, I get dressed, have my coffee, I go exercise, I come back, I meditate, and my spiritual section comes in, and then I do some sort of, and I'll tell you the truth, I read, but I probably watch more videos. So I may go on YouTube or something and watch a TEDx video, or a Tom Perry video, or another inspirational speaker video, just to get me pumped to take action and feel like I can control the world. And so those are my habits. I don't necessarily need them on my schedule, because when you build a habit, it's an automatic, right? But you have to stay on them. And there are certain things that we don't tend to stay on. Just like I got off my exercise routine and it affected me, and I needed to get back on it. And so we always struggle with keeping good habits. And when you jump off of them, you basically created a new habit. That habit is now not to do what you need to do. And that can happen really easy. Number 3, start your day early. So I would say to you, whatever time you get up, I'm gonna tell you right now, I would get up. I'm gonna challenge you to get up 1 hour earlier than you're used to getting up. because you need to probably have time to work in some better morning routine, and that's going to help you. You can actually achieve so much. By the time 9 o'clock rolls around, I've achieved what most people achieve in a whole day. And it's 9 o'clock. I'm already there. I'm so far ahead of most people because I get up and I grind it out. The other thing that happens is when you start early, your customers probably expect you to, unlike, they don't mind interrupting your evening time. They're less likely to interrupt your morning time. But at 9 o'clock, they're like, okay, I can call. So if you're able to spend time, you could actually work 6 hours and produce more action and activity and more success than working 8 hours if you work from 9 to 5 versus from 7 till 3. You can actually produce probably 50% more opportunity from 7 to 3 than you could from 9 to 5, because you're going to have a lot less interruptions. Be actionable on your daily agenda. And here's what I say is you need to consider accountability person. For most of us, especially if we're dealing with something that we're tremendously have a fear about doing, it's in our mind, we know, and Scott taught us that this is successful and this would work, and I've heard it in many other places, but I just can't get myself to do it. You need an accountability person. I have an accountability person. I have multiple accountability persons, actually. I have my wife, I have the person at the boot camp, I have Dan McGraw, I have Sharice Matthews, and they keep me accountable because they're expecting me to do certain actions. And trust me, if they weren't there to be accountable, I probably wouldn't get where I need to be on a daily basis as well. Now, an accountability person has to enforce you to actually complete the actions on your agenda, because if they're not doing that, they're not an accountability person. They're not the right accountability person. You have to have somebody that keeps you accountable and truly accountable to taking action. And where you have struggles, when you realize that you can't get something out of the procrastination mode that's on your agenda, then you need to reach out to somebody that can help you. And that's what we do. We can spend the time with you to get you over the hump of to get rid of the procrastination and actually take action, because it is achievable. And then invest into tools for success. In most cases, you already have all these. We have a lightweight CRM, which is a place that you can keep your data on your customers and set your scheduler. If you ask me, I would recommend a Google Calendar for your scheduler. That's where your agenda needs to lie, and that's what you live by. That's your boss for the day, and that boss laid out all these actions, and you need to follow the boss's schedule and do those actions. Your smartphone apps, all of these are tools. There may be tools that the one that we provide you isn't working well for you. It's important that you go out and find the tools that do work well for you, invest in them, because they can really carry your business forward and help you be successful when they work properly for you. We cannot work from here anymore in this world. We need to have the tools that help serve us and keep us on task, especially if we want to do a high level of business. You can't do much more than 2 or 3 ongoing customers and transactions working from here. You need the tools, and you need to actually use the tools. And for the most part, you're investing in them in the 4 to 5 p.m. time, and then you're utilizing or pulling data in the morning time to actually know what the tasks are that you need to do from the tools. And 6, be a master at your skills. We talked about that, and that's practice perfecting your profession on a daily basis. So again, you need to have some time, 15, 20, 30 minutes, where you're practicing the things that you say or how your delivery goes, and in those aspects. That's critically important, and that can be one of the most valuable things you could do, and it's the least likely that I'm going to convince any of you to do. It's really sad, but that is a critical thing. I feel very confident that I can pick up a telephone right now and call just about anyone and influence them to do something. A for sale by owner, an expired listing, a sphere of influence, because I did this so much. Now, I haven't been practicing it every day. Have I do that, I would even up the game more, but I feel very confident, and I embedded, for the most part, most of that dialogue into my brain to an extreme where it's programmed in me, and that's when your skills are really maximized, and you can't get there without doing daily practice. And 7, learn every day and adopt change. This is important. The world doesn't stand still. There's just an immense amount of change that goes on, and we have to be willing to, look and see where we can change that would improve, and then be willing to learn every day. When I read or watch video or things, I am constantly learning every single day of my life. I learn from you, the agents. I learn from watching videos. I learn from reading material. I learn from posts on social media. I just strive to learn every single day, which makes me stronger and stronger and stronger as a person for you who I serve. And I think that's important. You have 10 people here, or approximately, out of 250 that should be here. There's a lack of people investing in themselves in learning today. Develop and abide personal policies. We didn't really talk about this, but it is important, because I'm going to tell you, in this business, you can run circles. And unless you have some sort of guidelines within yourself of what has to happen to accept business, you may find yourself very frustrated, no money in the pockets for sure, and you're going to go out of business. And when I talk about this, it's, I may show a buyer my listing, but unless they get that pre-approval letter, I no longer work with them. I may go to that listing appointment, but if that seller doesn't agree to list their property within 2% of margin on the market value, I walk out the door, because it's never going to sell, or there's probably a reason why that buyer is not willing to go get a pre-approval letter. They have a desire to own a different home, but they know something's wrong with their credit and they really probably ain't going to qualify. Therefore, they're burning my time, my expertise, and I'm losing money. And so you need to set some sort of policies for yourself and abide by them. And sometimes it gets very hard. But I've seen too many agents run around and spend an enormous amount of time with someone, and then later on, after immense amount of hours of vested time, to find out they can't even buy a home, or they go out and they didn't skill up. Remember, master your skills. And their only selling mechanism to get a listing is almost do whatever the seller wants, and taking property off the mark, and then dealing with a lot of stress and frustration and unhappiness that no one's looking at the property, and dealing with the negativity from the seller complaining about their service, and all of that stuff. nothing good about any of that. So that's another reason your skills need to be built up. So personal policies. Any questions about this? No one?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you. You're always
You're welcome.
all right, Jerry.
We're good.
Okay, great. All right, got one more section. And I'm going to speak a little bit about creating the $100,000 business plan. Everybody good with that?
Oh, yes.
$100,000 business plan. Very simple. I far exceeded this, by the way. Um, and so I'm just going to give you a little bit of hints here how this business works most profitable, and that is that you spend your actions in the morning seeking what I call now business that has measurable results, and business opportunities that create multiple transactions. All of these will get you to 100K really fast. And it's this, and I think everyone's going to be able to understand this. Very simple. Which provides the greatest opportunity? Listings or home buyers?
Listen.
Listings.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, right? And so listings provide the greatest opportunity. And these are the reasons why. Why listings? Because I wish I could move this. I don't know if you guys see the same thing I do, but they're contractually committed. Generally, we find that when we service buyers, which would be against what I would like to teach you, but we don't have contracts with our buyers. And therefore, we're basically risking every moment we spend with a buyer, because at any moment we could lose that buyer to another agent or whatever. When you have a listing, you have a contract. They're contractually committed to you for X amount of time, and that commitment stands. You can leverage marketing, which means that now you have a product that you can market that attracts opportunity. Wow. It's far less time to service a listing or a seller than it is a buyer. You can, I can sit on the beach and pretty much close a transaction on a listing. I'm not saying list the property on the beach, but once I have a listing, it's pretty much hands off, and I can be anywhere virtually in the world, and you could call me as a buyer's agent, say I have a buyer making an offer on the property. I'm like, no problem, send to this email address, and I can do the business anywhere I'm at. And that's a value. The other is, at least in my world, the leads are relatively free, or it's easy to identify a lead opportunity on a seller. And I speak a lot about my way of doing business when I was in it deep, and that was I could identify people that were trying to sell their own home, which are for sale by owners, or people that didn't successfully get it done with the previous agent on their expired listings. It's a lot more difficult to determine who's a buyer unless you have some sort of mechanism to attract them in some way. The other thing, and I relate to the same thing, you can pick your own business. Because and I'll just give you, when I started, you don't really be picky on what opportunities you can create, so you kind of go after everything. I really feel that you need to, and it's for the reason that you need business. The second reason is you need experience. And whenever you can get any kind of business, regardless of how much income it's going to generate for you, it should generate some sort of income, but you're gaining experience in doing transactions and conducting business. But for me, So I did whatever I could get in the beginning, and I did a ton of it, but I did a lot of small deals. In the last about 18 months that I sold real estate, I pretty much converted myself to extreme high-end luxury real estate. So I was doing, usually on the low end, it was 800,000 up to $2 million, and because I could identify those customers and I could work directly to get that business, I could actually pick my business rather than just accepting anything. And so, which is most profitable to service kind of falls in the same thing. I want you to understand when you work with buyers, and I don't want to divert your attention to working with buyers. That's not the because working with buyers has a value, and you should try to work with buyers. But when you're picking what your actions you're doing during that 8 a.m. until noon, what could you focus on? So here's what it takes to work with a buyer on average, and I broke it down: consultation, share listings, show homes, follow up, negotiate contracts, contract to closing about 17 to 20 hours of time. And that could really vary depending on some buyers that really get ultra picky, or sometimes somebody will make a quick decision almost on the first house. But on average, you can say about 20 hours of your time. On a seller, by the time you do, prepare and do the listing appointment, set up all the marketing, coordinate showings throughout the process of getting a contract, follow up with that seller, negotiate a contract, and then follow from contract to closing, and then actually go to the actual closing, it's 10 to 12 hours. So almost half amount of time. So if you had the buyer on the home, I had the seller, I'm actually earning almost twice much per hour that you are based on this. So you could be earning 50 bucks an hour and I'm earning $100 an hour for my time. So it's something to consider. And here's something to even drive that further: the method to service. So when you actually, the time you have to spend with the client. And so when you're working with a buyer, you basically on throughout that process, 75% of your time you have to devote dedicated attention 100% with that buyer, because you're with them, showing property, working with them face to face. And only 25% of your time are you dealing with setting the appointments for showings and looking up MLS and setting the inspections and all that. So it's heavy on being 100% devoted versus the amount of time where you could almost do a little bit of multitasking off site with the buyer. On the seller side, you only spend about 25% dedicated time with the client, and 75% of your time is back at the office or working off site, just checking, working with emails and phone calls and setting appointments. And so when you're off site, you can be anywhere, and you could almost be multitasking, literally be sitting on the beach. You could be doing the beach and take a phone call, send an email from your phone, and actually conduct the business. So there's extreme amount of value in the seller side on working the business. And I'm just trying to give you some strategy as far as how you could ramp up and be successful at earning the income that you want to. I'm not here to tell you not to work with buyers or vice versa. And if you're newer in the business, you should be working with everyone. Well, commitment, cost, and eligibility. So here's some other things that drive it even further. So buyers, because we don't often do a contract, there's a lot of risk in the loyalty that we might have to actually carry that buyer all the way to closing. Another thing is a buyer must qualify to do the purchase unless they're paying cash. They have to have eligibility. They have to have the financing approved to actually make the purchase. And then to acquire buyers, you need to have usually a financial investment, or you're accepting referrals, but you're not really able to gauge in that world of the value of that buyer. You're not going to always attract $1 million home buyer. It's going to be whatever somebody needs based on referring to you, or however you might be obtaining those buyer leads. On the seller side, it's a term contract, so they're committed. And we generally don't have to be qualified to sell our home. So there's no qualifications required to sell a home. And then for the most part, especially, we can identify quickly people that are trying to sell their own home, which are trying to do the job we do. And there's no way they can do it as efficiently in the way we could. So we're a value to them, or they didn't successfully sell with the previous realtor and they're available. So we can obtain and identify those leads. Very simple. And they pop up. So if you want to know where you can get leads on a daily basis, it's called MLS. And you go in there, and the first page that comes up when you log in is all kinds of leads, because they're expired listings and they're available to you. And then when you have listings, and this is where it perpetuates because it creates multiple transactions. When you have a listing, you have the property, now you have the ability, the product that you can market, and that expense is relatively free. But when you market that property, you're attracting what? You're attracting buyers. And that's where this really takes off. So as a real estate agent, when I was a sales agent, I focused a heavily amount of my attention on obtaining listings. So I was pushing my time and effort into obtaining a listing. And then when I obtained that listing and then I began marketing that listing, it acquired buyers. So I would end up with buyers inquiring on that listing, and then I would gauge that to close 2 more sales. So I would always look at that as an opportunity to sell that listing and attract at least 2 more buyers that bought other homes from me or from one of my buyer's agents. So every listing multiplied into 3 transactions. That's not necessarily always true. The market's pretty strong. It depends on what price point where that might be more operable, because we are literally seeing some properties not last 24 hours on the market, which means you don't even get an opportunity to market to attract buyers. As long as a property hits the market and maybe lasts 30, 45 days, you should be able to push enough marketing out through social media and the different methods that you have to attract a number of additional buyers. That means you're selling more homes, and you have the tool to help drive the opportunity to capture those buyers. Hopefully this all makes sense. And I call that working really smart. Anyone have any questions about that part?
No.
No. Makes sense?
Oh, yes.
Okay. You on board with what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It makes sense. I'm telling you. Okay. So we're pretty much done. Hopefully we're ending a little bit early. I'm tired. So this is what I'm going to talk about next week. And I think, some of you have been there and seen this. But I'm going to talk about, that time frame from 8 a.m. until noon. What is that time adapted to? What kind of lead generation that you could do? And so I use the Family Feud thing here. If anyone wants to step up and tell me what they know of any of these are, I gave two of them away just now.
It's
Um,
FISBOs,
Isbos, yes,
expired,
yes,
networking,
yes,
open houses.
yes.
Um, Dang,
Come on now.
it's only 4, right?
This
Sphere of influence.
your sphere of influence is your big.
Oh, right, yeah.
Everyone should have sphere of influence.
Mm-hmm.
It's people you know, or people you have, some sort of connection with.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know you're in the business. You can't be a secret agent. You have to broadcast it, the best you can. You don't want to, you don't want to be too salesy or too pushy, but you have to put it out there. And there's some ways of doing that, and we can talk about that maybe next week as well. But networking is getting involved in charities and different entities where you can mingle with other people and create relationships, because this is a relationship business. You can buy leads,
Oh, yeah.
if that's something you want to do, and for some that might be the right thing. I'm not here to determine that. I'm just here to help you when you want to pick one of these and be really successful at it. You can farm.
That's right.
I farmed waterfront communities, and I was very successful at farming. And I grew a pretty good business doing it. I don't think we see too much farming in the business today. I think people just are scattered. So you don't really see a lot of agents sign dominating a particular neighborhood. So there's a lot of open opportunity when it comes to farming, because people aren't focused that way anymore. You can assist an agent, and that's kind of where the open house thing comes in. So there are so many agents in our brokerage that would give opportunity for anyone to host open houses on a Saturday or Sunday with their existing listings. So you don't even have to have a listing, and you can host an open house to do that, or just become a sub agent of another agent to do business. Advertising, so some sort of advertising. Social media is sort of an advertising platform, or just a different variety of that. And the last two that we just talked about, for sale by owner and expired listings. And trust me, there are more things than just this. This is just the common ones, but you can go into a specialty. You could deal, with divorced couples, or um, you know, first time home buyers, or you can kind of go in different directions. And then you just have to create a business plan that helps you find and get in front of those customers that you're seeking for that particular strategy. But when it comes to what we're going to focus on next Tuesday night, it's these 8. And what we're going to do is dive in and talk about the pros and cons of each, so that you can identify them and then just learn a little bit deeper about them. And hopefully something here surfaces, because effectively you need to pretty much pick 2 to 3 methods, and then really try to get ultra successful at those methods. And one of those in everyone should be sphere of influence, and then 1 or 2 others as well. Any questions about this?
No.
No.
How about you, Jerry?
No. This is very good.
Okay. So that's pretty much the end of the presentation. What time is it?
It's 8:43.
Okay, well, we saved a little over a half hour. Well, I really, really appreciate everybody that came on. Hopefully this spoke good to you. If you need access to this slideshow for any reason, I'd be happy to share it with you. And I look forward to all of you taking the time to join me next Tuesday night as well. I think it'll be a good conversation. I think we can dive in deep. I'm hopeful that maybe I'll get more people that's willing to interact as well. I think there's a value in that. And I appreciate that you gave me your evening to listen to me. I just also want to remind you that this Sunday is our company picnic. And I'm hopeful that you and all your family will join us. It's a good time together. It's at the Starkey Park here in Newport Richey. We have a lot of fun, and there's a lot of good food, a lot of games, a lot of socialization, and just having fun together. So please take the time and come out and join us. I'd love to see you in person. I thank you very much again, and enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to go home and go to bed.
Thank you,
You too.
Scott. God bless.
Yes.
Thank you.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.